It wasn't Grandma, it wasn't Grandma. Those were the only words my nephew managed to repeat after hearing someone call his name at 2:07 in the morning in the forest. This is the last audio he recorded before throwing his phone into the river and running through the forest in the dark. My name is Kanoa. I am the shaman of my village, and I have lived in this jungle for more than 60 moons. April 14th, 2023. Friday. New moon. Total darkness. My nephew Tacumã, 24 years old, an experienced fisherman, entered the Jacare Igarape alone. Tacumã reached the fishing spot when the last light of day was fading. He chose 2 giant samama trees on the riverbank, tied his hammock between them 2 meters off the ground, lit the oil lamp, and prepared the hooks. And that's when he realized something was wrong. Silence. Not that peaceful late afternoon silence, but a heavy silence. Unnatural, as if someone had pressed a button and turned off every sound of the forest at once. No crickets, no cicadas, no monkeys, no birds returning to their nests. Nothing. Only the sound of his own breathing and the pounding of his own heart. 1 hour later, while cleaning the first pirarucu he had caught, Tacumã felt it. You know that feeling when you sense someone watching you? That chill on the back of your neck? That weight in your chest? That was exactly it. As if it were a person watching from all directions at the same time. He stopped what he was doing, grabbed the lamp, slowly scanned around in a full circle. Nothing. Only trees. Vines. Thick darkness where the light could not reach. But the feeling didn't go away. It stayed. And it got worse. At 8:30 p.m., while eating cassava flour with roasted fish, Tacumã heard a branch snap, a thick branch, about 50 meters inside the forest. Something heavy had passed through there. A tapir? Maybe. A jaguar? Unlikely. Jaguars are silent. But the strangest part wasn't the sound. It was what came after. Whatever had broken that branch simply stopped moving, the exact moment Tacumã looked in that direction, as if it were waiting, watching, testing. 45 minutes later, he heard a jaguar's call, but something was wrong. Tacumã had known the sound of a jaguar since childhood. We all have. It's a sound that makes your blood freeze, but it's natural, animal. Tacumã grabbed his machete, added more oil to the lamp, and decided not to sleep. At 10 p.m., a smell arrived with the wind. And the smell didn't pass. It stayed there, hanging in the air, for almost 15 minutes. Then it vanished suddenly, as if whoever carried that smell had gone away, or changed position. Tacumã was lying in the hammock, machete by his side, trying to sleep with one eye open, when he heard it.
Tacumã, my dear little grandson.
He opened his eyes slowly, heart racing. It was the voice of his grandmother, Grandma Jurema, who had died of pneumonia 7 years earlier. He was 17 when she died. He was by her side at the moment. Tacumã froze, holding his breath, thinking, I'm imagining this. It's exhaustion. It's fear. It's not real.
Tacumã, why don't you answer Grandma? I'm here in the dark. I can't find my way back.
This time, he heard footsteps. Slow, heavy, dragging leaves across the forest floor. Coming from the left, slowly, stopping every now and then, as if whoever was walking was searching for something. Tacumã clenched the machete tightly, grabbed the lamp, pointed it toward the sound. The yellow light of the lamp barely reached 5 meters. Beyond that, only absolute darkness. The footsteps stopped. It's not real, he whispered to himself. Grandma is dead. This isn't real. It's not real. But deep down, a part of him was starting to doubt. 5 minutes past midnight, the voice returned. But it was no longer on the left. It was on the right, and closer, about 20 meters away. Tacumã jerked his head to the right, shining the light. Nothing. How did she move from one side to the other without me hearing? He thought. And then he realized a horrible truth. Whatever was out there was circulating, studying him, like a predator studies its prey before attacking.
Tacumã, are you angry with me? Did I do something wrong? Please, don't leave me alone out here.
Now the voice was behind him, even closer. Tacumã didn't turn his body, didn't turn his face. He stayed still, staring forward, hands shaking, sweat pouring down. Because he remembered what I told him. Never turn your face. Even with his heart exploding in his chest, even with every fiber of his body screaming to look, he didn't turn. And for one terrible moment, Tacumã thought, what if it really is her? What if Grandma is lost? What if I can help? What if I'm a coward leaving her alone? 1:10 in the morning. The voice had stopped calling. But now Tacumã heard something else. Movement above him, in the branches of the samama trees. Something was climbing the trees, something heavy enough to make the branches sway and leaves fall, and it was positioning itself directly above his hammock. Tacumã looked up. The weak light of the lamp barely reached the lower branches. But he saw it for 1 second, a shadow, human-shaped, but upside down, clinging to the trunk like a giant spider. And then the shadow climbed higher, disappeared into the darkness. At 1:30 in the morning, everything stopped. The voice, the movements, the sounds, everything. Total silence. Absolute for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Tacumã was sitting in the hammock, machete in one hand, lamp in the other, eyes burning from not blinking. And slowly, very slowly, he began to relax. It's gone, he thought. Whatever it was, it gave up. It left. He lowered the machete, placed the lamp on the ground beside the hammock, lay on his side, closed his eyes. It was the biggest mistake of his life. It was exactly 2 o'clock in the morning when it happened. Tacumã had just begun to fall asleep. And then...
Take 'em!
It wasn't a call. It was an order. It wasn't loving. It was possessive, demanding, final. And my nephew, by pure animal instinct, by reflex, turned his face. He described what he saw to me 3 days later, sitting on the floor of my maloca, crying, shaking, with his hands covering his face. And I will describe it to you exactly as he told me. The thing was less than 1 meter from his face, so close he could feel its breath. It was floating, upside down, bare feet pointing toward the sky, the body hanging in the air with nothing holding it. It had the shape of a woman. It wore an old floral dress, the same dress his grandmother was buried in. And the face was Grandma Jerima's. But something was wrong. The eyes had no whites, no irises, no pupils, no color, just emptiness. 2 deep, black holes that seemed to go on forever, as if you looked into them and fell, and never stopped falling. And the mouth was open in a smile, but it was a smile that was too wide, and it had too many teeth, teeth behind teeth, rows and rows, small, sharp, like piranha teeth. And then the thing spoke, but it was no longer Grandma's sweet voice.
Thank you for turning.
And her head began to rotate, slowly, inch by inch, making that sound of bones cracking and rearranging, 180 degrees, until the face was in the correct position, no longer upside down, but upright. And when those empty eyes locked onto Tacumã's eyes, the mouth opened wider, 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 like a snake dislocating its jaw to swallow its prey. And from inside that deep black throat came wasps, a furious black cloud, buzzing, pouring out her throat like black smoke from a chimney. And all of them came straight for Tacumã's face. Tacumã didn't think, didn't plan. He just reacted. He jumped out of the hammock, left everything behind. Lamp, machete, fish, food, water, threw his phone into the river, and ran. Ran through the dense jungle in complete darkness. No flashlight, no direction, just running as fast as his legs would allow. And behind him, the thing laughed with his grandmother's voice. And worse, he heard it, even while running, even with blood pounding in his ears. He heard that laughter always 10 meters behind him. Tacumã ran nonstop for 25 minutes. He smashed his face into low branches, cut his arms on thorns, tore his shirt on vines, lost one sandal, fell 3 times in the mud. And every time he fell, he heard the laughter grow louder, closer, as if the thing enjoyed moments of weakness. But every time he got back up and kept running, the wasps buzzed around his head, stung his neck, his ears, his scalp. Each sting was liquid fire, but he didn't stop. Because he knew if he stopped, it was over. Tacumã's foot caught on a thick root sticking out of the ground. He fell forward with full force, unable to break the fall. He landed face first, right on top of a massive leafcutter ant nest. The pain was instant, brutal, unbearable. Hundreds, no, thousands of ants climbed up his legs, his arms, his chest, his neck, his face, biting, injecting venom, burning his skin like acid. Tacumã screamed, truly screamed. He rolled on the ground, trying to brush the ants off, punched his own body, rubbed his face into the dirt. And when he finally managed to stand up, shaking the ants off, his entire body on fire with pain. The thing was gone. Completely. The laughter stopped. The wasps vanished. The feeling of being followed evaporated, as if it had never existed. Tacumã stood there in the middle of the forest, covered in dead ants and wasps, bleeding, swollen, trembling, not knowing where he was, not knowing which way to go. He walked aimlessly for nearly an hour, stumbling, falling, getting back up, until he heard water, running water. He ran toward the sound and found the river, a branch of the Rio Negro. He threw himself into the water, washed his face, washed his wounds, and cried. He cried like a child, sobbing, shaking, hugging his own knees. And he stayed there, sitting in the mud on the riverbank, staring at the dark forest, waiting for dawn. Around 5 a.m., when the first ray of sunlight touched the river, a fisherman's canoe appeared around the bend. They saw Tacumã, sitting on the riverbank, hugging his knees, staring at the forest. They shouted his name. He didn't answer, didn't move. They had to paddle to him, pull him into the canoe by force. During the entire trip back, Tacumã didn't say a word. He just sat at the bottom of the canoe, looking back at the forest growing farther and farther away. And from time to time he whispered, "I shouldn't have turned. I shouldn't have turned. I shouldn't have turned. They brought my nephew straight to my maloca. I laid him in the hammock, cleaned his wounds, removed the wasp stingers, applied herbal medicines to the ant bites. But the worst wound was not on the skin." Tacumã didn't speak, didn't eat, didn't sleep. He just lay there, staring at the thatched ceiling with those empty eyes. And from time to time he whispered, "It wasn't Grandma. It wasn't Grandma." On the 3rd day, he finally managed to speak. He told me everything, from beginning to end. Every detail I just told you. Today, almost 2 years after that night, Tacumã has never gone back into the forest alone, never fished at night again. And every dawn at the same hour, he wakes up, soaked in sweat, shaking, staring at the window. If you felt the chill of this story, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell right now so you don't miss the next mysteries of the Amazon jungle. Like this video, Share it with someone who enjoys stories that make the heart race. If you were in Tacuma's place, alone in the forest at night, what would you do if you heard your grandmother calling your name? Leave a comment below. I am Kanawha, guardian of the mysteries of the night in the Amazon jungle. And while the forest breathes, while the ancient trees keep their secrets, I will continue telling its stories. The stories it whispers only to those who know how to listen. The jungle listens. The jungle watches. The jungle never forgets. And the jungle never sleeps until the next moon.